Welcome to the world of probiotic foods. This is Cultured Food Life with your host, Donna Schwenk.
Welcome, everybody. And today we are going to talk about something really interesting. Most of the topics that we talk about are really information for you to help you to understand how things work in your body. And so it can really enhance your life in a really wonderful way, because when you have understanding and you put meaning to something that you're doing, whether it be eating cultured foods, whether it be exercising, whether, anything in your life that you're trying to change or enhance, when you understand it in a deeper and more meaningful way, you can do it better. And you can give some meaning to the things you're doing by giving yourself some understanding and wisdom about it. And that's what this show is about. And we're going to talk about our gut bacteria and does it control our behavior to get the best nutrients. They call our gut the second brain. And the bacteria is an entire universe down there. I mean, there's more microbes in your gut than in the entire Milky Way galaxy. Stars in the Milky Way galaxy. It's an incredible thing to try to understand how it's all working, because it's so orderly, and there are things going on that we don't really understand. And when we give some understanding to it, it really does help us. And we can't really just ignore what's going on anymore, because people are getting sick and they're having autoimmune diseases and they're having all these problems. And more research is coming out that our microbiome just affects everything from autoimmune diseases to any kind of virus that we get or infections that aren't healing properly. That bacteria is somehow involved in the way that our cells talk to one another, the way that our immune system responds to any kind of environmental stress. All of these things that are happening in our body are also controlled in general and in part by bacteria, because the bacteria outnumber the cells 10 to 1. And so, we have all these cells that are communicating and doing this, but bacteria is really behind the scene as a mighty force. And understanding it is really vast, and it's a huge undertaking, because we're just scratching the surface of what we know. And research is coming out daily about things that, I was looking at some articles today on psoriasis and how much our microbiome affects that, arthritis. I was looking on Alzheimer's. There was all kinds of different things that are being affected, that are discovering are being affected by our gut bacteria. And it would make sense if it was, because we're more bacteria than we are cells. And 100 trillion bacteria are doing something, but not just digesting our food and making nutrients, B vitamins and vitamin K and things like that in our gut. They're doing a lot of things. And I have found that in the 18 years I've been doing this, it has been a profound experience for me to understand all the bacteria does in my body. And when I embrace it, my life gets better, because I understand it and I work with it. Because when you work with your body and the food that you eat, everything kind of can get in harmony and sync up. And when bacteria have the ability to do things, they work in numbers and they work in concert with one another. And if they will try to defeat pathogens. Let's say, for instance, you've got a pathogen in your body and you've got bacteria that's trying to fight it. Well, what happens is, and this was really interesting, I was listening to a microbiologist talk about this yesterday, and he said that what happens is, if they have enough numbers, they will try to combat that pathogen and overtake it and kill it and destroy it. But if they don't have enough numbers and they can't kill the pathogen, they will join with the pathogen and become a force. That's why so many people are creating disease in their body, because they don't have the numbers of good bacteria in their bodies, nor the immune system that is able to really combat things in their body that are wreaking havoc on their lives. So number one, gut bacteria are very manipulative. Some of them will line up with our dietary goals, but others of them do not. And one of the things that determines this, and this is a whole other system that we're talking about. This is about not only fighting pathogens and viruses, but this is about for instance, what you eat, what you're going to crave, what you're going to do in a day. Your bacteria is going to help determine your cravings. And so some of them are going to line up with your dietary goals and some of them are not, but it depends on what you're feeding your microbiome. For example, you can't have a meal without affecting your microbes. That's just known fact. And some prefer fat, some prefer sugar, and all of these microbiomes are going to fight to get the nutrients they need. And researchers have suggested that gut bacteria might try to manipulate the environment themselves for their own benefit. So what does that mean? So in essence, it's like when you try to manipulate your behavior by causing food cravings, these microbes will do that. They'll make you crave certain foods, anything from alcohol to sugar to processed foods, because there's more of those microbes in your gut. So depending on what you're feeding them, you're going to crave those foods. I know for a fact that if you eat more fruits and vegetables, you're going to crave more fruits and vegetables. I've seen that over in my life hundreds of times with my children, with my own body. The more good fruits and vegetables that I eat, the more I crave them. And one of the determining factors of our intestinal environment, of course, is not only what food we eat, but how much we eat. And so if you're overeating a lot of foods that aren't good for you, you're going to really strengthen those cravings. If you're eating smaller amounts of them, you won't have the fight because you're not increasing your microbiome. But overeating causes people to want it even more than they would if they just ate a small amount. So why does bacteria want to manipulate our behavior? So researchers found a really strong connection between our gut flora and the functioning of our immune system, our nervous system, and the hormonal system in our bodies. And they suggested that bacteria may release signaling molecules that affect the vagus nerve. And that runs from our gut to the base of our brain. And these researchers said microbes have the capacity to manipulate behavior and mood through alternating the neurosignals in the vagus nerve. They change taste receptors, produce toxins to make us feel bad. They release chemical rewards to make us feel good. And in one study, they found that humans who drank a probiotic beverage, which had the bacteria Lactobacillus casei, showed improvement in their moods, but only if they felt bad before they drank it. So in essence, it helped them to feel better, but only if they were already feeling bad. So they have the ability to manipulate our moods. And you can change your gut bacteria in as little as 24 hours, or honestly, you can do it in a meal. And it can have significant effects on you. And I've seen this and I've done this to myself many, many times. And Jeff Leach he's the guy at the American Gut Project. And if you haven't checked him out, he is just one interesting dude. And he's doing so many cool things on his website. I love the research he's doing into the gut. He has this place where you can have your gut microbes tested, and it can tell you what kinds you have. And it's just fascinating research that he's doing. And I read an article by him and he stated that he eats leeks, which is, a vegetable, every day because it affects his microbes so effectively. And he tested himself to see how his microbes produced or diminished, and just by eating a plate of lightly sauteed leeks every day. And he saw huge dramatic differences in his microbiome just by eating leeks. And leeks are one of the biggest, what they call prebiotics. And prebiotics are foods, they're basically fertilizer for your microbes. So they make them grow and multiply, and they make the good ones grow and multiply. And I absolutely love leeks. Artichokes are another one, and these are some of the stronger ones that have more food for your microbes. Onions, these are all really strong. There's other ones too, apples, berries, nuts, seeds, but leeks and artichokes, onions, they're stronger than the other. They're actually made into a prebiotic called inulin, and they use it all the time. Like I actually sell a product that has it in there because it's so powerful. It feeds the kefir and helps it to grow and multiply, makes your kefir grow like crazy. It also makes your kefir creamier. But I use it in my shakes. I use it in my, I could put it in my tea. And it's stable too. It doesn't have to be cold all the time. It can even go into hot beverages. But I use it every day because I really have noticed a difference. It helps my blood sugar. It helps me to remain more stable, have more consistent energy. But in the beginning, when I first started using it, I noticed a huge disruption in my gut a little bit. I got some gas and bloating because it was just growing and multiplying and feeding my microbiome. And then after a day, it went away. But I've read so many studies about this. I'm holding back on talking about this and putting this research out there because there's so much going on with it right now that I want to wait till we get to some more conclusions, because they're speculating some pretty fantastic things from just this type of prebiotic fiber in the diet. And you guys can get it as simple as eating leeks or artichokes or salads, and you get more from certain things. And I have a whole thing on my website, and you can just type in prebiotics and it'll show you the percentage of prebiotics in all the fruits and vegetables and things. And even in this product I sell that's called Prebio Plus, you can see the percentage of fiber that you get that will grow your microbiome. And I think it's cool that you can eat one meal and change your microbiome. I mean, I see this happen in my own body all the time. I make a lot of things with leeks. I love them so much. They're kind of like a sweet onion. I have a soup I make all the time. I just like the taste of them. I like them in salads. But it's not just that. There are so many other prebiotic fibers. And the fact that he tested himself and saw differences when he ate them and when he didn't proves to me that diet is huge, because when your microbes are happy, you're happy. Your moods are better. Your blood sugar's better, your adrenals are better. Everything goes into a balance. And we have 100 trillion of these little guys in our body, and they're doing something all day long. And so why not harness that power and allow them to really help us to live healthier and have more energy throughout the day? And that's something I've really noticed. If I have berries, which have a lot of prebiotic fibers in them for breakfast, which I do, and I'm actually writing an article this week on my favorite for breakfast. But if I have strawberries or blueberries or any kind of berries, they give me the most energy in the morning of just about anything. And this is also proven research. I've seen a lot of research on it. They have special compounds in them, and I get into it on my blog. But they really give you so much energy, and it's a sustainable energy. It's not like you get a high and then you crash. These really help you to keep things a steady stream. And it's what our ancestors ate a lot of. And so I eat a lot of berries because I know they not only are feeding my microbiome in a really powerful way, but they also help many other components in my body. You know, it's funny because I was reading this article the other day, and they were talking about how the vitamin C in fruits like strawberries have more vitamin C than oranges. And they were so effective in helping people compared to vitamin C supplements, because there's other compounds in these fruits and vegetables that are stabilizing not only our bodies and giving them what they need, but they're giving them other nutrients that I think we fully don't understand. Because like if you take a vitamin C supplement, it can be hard on your kidneys because it's not meant to come in that strong of a form. And so I love being able to get it in fruits and vegetables because I notice a huge difference. Like if you need some vitamin C, then you need to eat a bowl of strawberries. It will help your adrenals. If you're having a low in your day and you're feeling like a crash, adrenal crash, have a bowl of strawberries, and just watch, see what happens. It's amazing. Or have an orange, and you'll be surprised. Not only does it feed your microbiome, but it will help lift your mood because of the vitamin C. And that's the same with these cultured foods. When they gave these people that fermented drink, which is probably like a kefir or a yogurt or something, it will not only support your gut and make your adrenals feel better, but makes your mood better. So it took me a while to figure this all out in my own personal life. But microbes have helped me so much in my diet because when I first started eating cultured foods in the very beginning, which was about 18 years ago, I noticed that when I didn't eat them, I didn't feel very good. So I just kept eating them. This is the main reason I started eating cultured foods, because when I had kefir every morning, I felt better. Everything felt better, not just, oh, I felt better. I mean, I felt significantly better. It helped my blood sugar because I was diabetic at that time, and I'm no longer that way and haven't been that way for 18 years. I had high blood pressure, and it lowered all of those and stabilized all those things in my body, which was profound. And I've written a lot about it on my website and in my books, but I didn't want to go back to feeling bad, so I just kept drinking it. But as I kept drinking it, and I hadn't really changed the rest of my diet, I was just adding kefir to my diet, I started to notice that my cravings and my taste buds began to change, because every day I was having this like kefir smoothie or kefir something. I was usually I'd chop like an orange and put almonds in it, or I'd make a smoothie with it, or I'd do something with it. And I started to change my cravings. And without realizing it, I was eating tons of prebiotics in the forms of fruits and vegetables in my diet that I hadn't had as many of before, because I started to crave them. I remember this was interesting. I remember I started to crave oatmeal, and I'd never craved oatmeal in my life. But oatmeal is a huge prebiotic, and it has a lot of soluble fiber, and I just started to crave it. And that's the fiber that feeds your microbiome. And I remember in the cold months, I would put kefir on I would make oatmeal. And before, I was eating, foods that really didn't feed my microbiome and foods that weren't good for me. And when I changed that one thing, that just breakfast, I noticed that it started to change me slowly in other areas, and I wanted to eat better. And I honestly believe that it was because I was feeding the microbes in my gut, and they were changing my cravings. And it was interesting to me that slowly over time, I just kept adding more good things until I can't remember. We were laughing the other day. We were thinking about, we used to go to, we used to get fast food all the time when the kids were growing up, and we'd go to all these places. And I haven't done that in, I don't know how, almost 20 years. We ate a lot of sugar cereals for breakfast, or breakfast pastries for breakfast. We didn't eat very good. And all of that just went away. And it was so funny. I didn't even really kind of notice it. It just kind of happened. And it was kind of an amazing thing to me, because I was trying to remember. I was talking to my kids the other day, and I don't remember it's been almost 20 years since we've done all those things that we used to do. And it wasn't even a conscious decision that I wasn't going to do it. It just happened because I just replaced some of the things I was eating with kefir and more fruits and vegetables, and it just slowly changed. And since I was feeding my microbes every day, and I started to feed them at every meal, like I would have cultured veggies for lunch, and I would just have like a spoonful. But a spoonful of cultured veggies is like the equivalent of a whole supplement bottle of probiotics. That's how powerful they are. And because they come in the food that you're eating instead of in supplements, the stomach acids don't kill the probiotics in the food, because they're surrounded on the food, and they transport to the parts of the body. They speed to the parts of the body because they're connected to food. Whereas if you were to take a lot of supplements, often they sit in the stomach acids and get killed. That's what your body's designed to do, is to kill things in the acids in the stomach. And so supplements don't work as well as cultured foods, because foods have a little protective halo around them with the probiotics, and you'll be surprised the difference. You'll notice the difference right away. I used to take a lot of probiotic supplements, and I'm not against them at all. I think they're good. I just think you have to take a lot of them, and they're expensive to really get what you need. And foods are so inexpensive to make. A lot of these cultures will last your lifetime if you take care of them, and they just work so much better. And I saw that in my own life, that we were taking so many supplements, and we really weren't seeing the benefit. And as soon as we switched to eating cultured foods that were probiotic, we saw immediate results. We saw immediate things happening in our bodies, and we enhanced that, and we just never went back. And it's inexpensive, guys. If you have kefir grains, I've had my kefir grains for 18 years, and I've never had to buy another one. I mean, you can't get anything cooler than that. I mean, it'll last you. You can pass them down to your children. And cultured vegetables are fantastic because the brine, you can use the brine. Let's say you make a batch of cultured vegetables, and the brine you can use again to make another batch. And kombucha, I've had my SCOBY for 18 years. In my starter tea that I've made my kombucha. So it's just cool because these are really sustainable things that can really not only enhance your life and enhance your food, but they can last your lifetime if you take care of them. I'm a little bit of a crazy police about the kefir, and I really preach to people to take care of their cultures and not let them die. And please don't tell me when you do kill them, because it's very upsetting to me, because I feel like there's such life-giving forces, and I want to keep them alive and well on this planet, because if you get some kefir grains, okay, then they're going to grow and multiply. If you're going to make kefir every day, they're going to double every week, and you're going to have some to give to your friends. I blend them up in smoothies, so they're good for you. The grains themselves, they don't taste like anything, but they're actually good for you. So I put them in the smoothie, but they will last forever, and nobody knows how they got here, and nobody knows because they've been around for forever, and scientists cannot replicate them. They've tried. They can't do that. And I really believe that they were, probably here before we were, and they were here to really help us live a healthy life, and I love them. And that's one of the things that I love about these foods, that they'll fit into any diet, whether you're, vegan or paleo or just any kind of diet. You can do all of these cultured foods can be added to your diet. You can do coconut milk kefir, almond milk kefir, cashew kefir, or you can do cultured vegetables are for everybody. Kombucha is just a tea. It's wonderful. They fit into so many diets. And you'll notice the difference right away. And for years, I did different types of diets. Before I found cultured foods, I had just stacks and stacks of different diet books by my bed. And I would read them every night, and I was trying to figure it out. I would try this diet. And it's kind of cool because I've lived long enough to watch all these things come and go. And now there's new things out, new diets and new things that everybody's trying. And I'm not against them because I did them too. But I just know that I really feel like I found the answer. I know that I did because I don't have to do anything extreme. As long as I feed my microbiome and eat these foods, and these are just really condiments. They're not really, except for the kefir. Kefir is always my breakfast, but everything else is just a side condiment. Like I drink kombucha with one of my meals, and I have a spoonful of cultured vegetables, and I don't really need much more than that. And that alone has changed everything for me. And I don't have to do the extreme diets anymore, because once I started taking care of my microbiome, it took care of me. And that's the joy of all of this. And you don't feel deprived, and you don't feel like you can't have things. You have these 100 trillion microbes that can take over and make you crave the right food, which is just the craziest thing ever. And guys, it changes in one meal. I mean, you can have just one meal make all the difference. And honestly, just try it. Give yourself, just try one cultured food and just add it to your diet and see how you like it. And you guys remember when all the fiber was all the craze? You remember that? It was like back in I think it was in the 80s or 90s. I can't remember. And it was so interesting. Everybody was saying, you got to have more fiber. You got to do more fiber. Well, there are two types of fiber. There's insoluble fiber, and then there's soluble fiber. And insoluble fiber does not dissolve in water, and really is not fermented by the gut bacteria. But soluble fiber is, and it does dissolve in water, and it is fermented by the microorganisms or the bacteria. And it has been known for decades that African societies have almost non-existent disorders in their GI tract. And that included like bowel irregularities, diverticulitis, colon cancers, Crohn's disease, colitis. None of them knew why these certain tribes didn't get these types of cancer. But what they discovered was they found that they had these high fiber diets. And it was something that they ate a lot of soluble fibers. And certain soluble fibers have this thing that I was telling you that's in leeks. Is called inulin or oleofructose or fructose oleosaccharide is the name of it. They call it FOS. And it caused huge changes in the bacterial mix of the colon. And that's when they discovered prebiotics, that it was the fibers that they were eating that were prebiotic, that were eaten by the bacteria in the gut. Because you don't really get any calories from them. You don't really get any nutrients from the fiber, but your bacteria does. And when your bacteria gets that, then it changes you. And that's where they found these prebiotic fibers coming from things like radishes, Jerusalem artichokes and regular artichokes, leeks. Jicama is another one of my very favorites. It's a big prebiotic, and it's kind of what they call like a Mexican potato. It's sweet and it's crunchy, and I love it. Carrots, beans, onions, apples, garlic. Garlic is huge prebiotic. Berries, bananas, oatmeal, some whole grains and brands, and other things like nuts and seeds. They have all these important soluble fibers. And they help so many people. I think that's one of the reasons why juicing works so well. You know, I was always like, I wonder why that works so well, but it's really cool because the soluble fibers are liquid. They're in the liquid part of the juice. So even though you're getting rid of the insoluble fibers, you're still getting the prebiotic fibers in the juices that you juice. And that's why it works so effectively, because it changes the whole terrain in your gut. And so it works fantastic to really feed your microbiome, and it really does help you in so many ways. So I love juicing too, because it's so effective in changing your whole gut and really feeding it in a powerful way. There's so many studies now that are coming out that show prebiotic fibers can change the bacterial mix in the lower gut. And they're almost as important as probiotics, I believe, if not more. And for most of the 20th century, medical schools taught doctors that bacteria that lived in the human body was, pretty much harmless. But now we know that some of those bacteria can almost perform some of the most important health functions, things like strengthening the bowel wall, improving the body's ability to absorb essential nutrients such as calcium, producing hormones that will control our appetite and also control our moods like anxiety and depression. And we're really just on a whole new world of discovery. It's interesting. There's a lot of psychiatrists now who are prescribing probiotics instead of drugs for their patients. And they found that once they fix their guts, that they fix their mental health. And I have found that within myself, that I'll tell you what, if you're depressed, and you need to start drinking some kefir and some kombucha, because it can lift your mood like nothing else. And it's just loaded with nutrients. And the more you drink it, the better you feel, And I was having a discussion the other day with my husband, and I'm like, I feel like I'm a newborn sometimes. It just got started. I don't feel like I'm 58. I just feel like, everybody my age is like, all I can think about is retirement. And I'm like, you people, I got stuff to do. I want to live every day to its fullest. And I didn't feel that way before I found these foods. I was really struggling, guys. I didn't want to get out of bed. I wanted to lay on the couch all day long. I didn't want to build a business or write a book, or who does that? I didn't want to do it. And I didn't even know how to do it. And it was just such an amazing thing to me that when I felt good, everything's changed. Everything in my world changed. My relationships changed. My energy level went through the roof. I suddenly wanted to do things that I had never wanted to do in my life. And how I found myself here, I credit 100% to my microbes. They were the answer to the prayers that I prayed, that I just didn't want to live the way I was living. I was depressed. I felt horrible. I had diabetes. I had high blood pressure. And I had a brand new baby, and I was a wreck. And I had a baby to raise, and I was like 41. And what happened to me it's astounding. It's just been such a journey for me, but I just want you guys to feel that too, because this life is so much fun when you feel good. It is a blast to experience and understand what your body can do. And I hope that you don't go through life not understanding the magnificence of the machine that you live in, the intelligence of your microbiome and the cells of your body, and this organizing systems in there that are constantly renewing themselves every day to keep you alive and moving and functioning. And if you can harness the power of of all of those systems in there, feed them, work with them together, and it feels so good you can't believe it. You'll do things that you never thought you'd do. You'll find new pathways and new doors open that you never knew existed because they were buried under sickness and disease or discouragement. And when you feel good, you do good, and you want to help your brothers and sisters feel that way too. And that's why I'm here. That's why I do it, because I just don't want you to suffer. I don't want you to, because I was there. I know what that feels like. And it's a wonderful world when you work with your body and you find a way to harness all the power that's in there that's already inside of you. The answers are always inside of us, and I believe that with all my heart. They're just waiting for us to tap into them. So today's show, we're talking about harnessing the power of what you eat. But let me give you a guideline of some things that might help you, that helped me. And add some cultured foods to your diet. Just try one. Go to the store and try one. I teach everybody how to make them free on my site at culturedfoodlife.com. I've got a start here, and I teach you how to do everything. It's free on my site. You can learn how to do it all. I got videos. I got everything you need. And try one. Try some kefir, or try some sauerkraut, or go to the store and get some kimchi, or I can teach you how to make it too. Or buy a bottle of kombucha and give it a try. And if you want to learn to make it, I can teach you how to make it. It's a lot less expensive and it's super fun. And just try one. See how you do. I started with just one. I started with kefir, and then I moved to kombucha, and then I tried cultured vegetables, and then I went from there, and it just changed my life. And the other thing that you can include, if you don't want to try probiotics, then try prebiotics. And that's leeks or jicama or asparagus. Asparagus are huge too. We didn't talk about that, but asparagus are huge. Carrots, beans, onions, apples, garlic, berries, bananas, oatmeals, whole grain, radishes, artichokes, bran, nuts and seeds, and many others too. If you want to find out more, go to my website and type in prebiotics, and it'll give you a list of them and show you how much is in them. You just might as well work with your body and learn to control and harness the power that's, inside of you already working on your behalf. It's a fun way to live your life, guys, and you won't crave those foods anymore. You'll want the good stuff. That's the cool thing. I love that. It won't be a battle. It won't be a struggle. You'll want the foods that love you back. And it's a wonderful way to live. Thanks for listening, guys. I hope you have a wonderful week, and go find some prebiotics and maybe some cultured foods. Try it for yourself and see what happens. It's an exciting journey to discover just what your body can do. Have a good one, guys.